우주복을 입은 새 우주비행사가 비장하게 서 있습니다.
These three American astronauts consider themselves among the luckiest men in the world. They are going to the moon. They will not.
우주비행사들이 서로 바라보며 활짝 웃습니다.
The Apollo 8 spacecraft to the moon, orbit 10 times, and return safely to Earth. Frank Borman, 40, Air Force Colonel, making his
수염난 우주비행사가 사람들 속에서 웃습니다.
Jim Lovell, 40, Navy Captain, holds the record for more time in space than any other man, with a total of 425 hours and 9 seconds. He will be command module pilot for the mission. Bill Anders, 35, Air Force Major, making his
우주비행사가 조종석에 누워 계기판을 살핍니다.
Apollo 8. This is the vehicle, the mighty Saturn V, that will send the men on their 6-day trip. Standing 60 feet taller than the Statue of Liberty from first stage through the launch escape system, the vehicle weighs over 6 million pounds, most of which is propellant. These massive first stage engines, 5 in all, generate 7.5 million pounds of thrust and drink propellant. The Apollo spacecraft, product of 8 years of design, construction, testing, redesign, and more testing. The spacecraft proved itself worthy during its
거대한 로켓이 발사대에 우뚝 서 있습니다. 운반차가 거대한 로켓을 싣고 천천히 이동합니다.
The vehicle responded to each command in a manner that left no doubt in the minds of scientists, engineers, and Apollo crewmen that the craft is indeed capable of carrying 3 men around the moon.
로켓 엔진이 거대한 불꽃을 뿜어냅니다.
Averaging about 238,000 statute miles from Earth.
기술자들이 우주선 부품을 꼼꼼히 점검합니다.
Was dictated by 3 factors. The first 2, a daylight launch and daylight landing, are scheduled in the interest of crew safety. The third is that before useful pictures can be taken or navigational sightings obtained over the planned landing site area, the lighting conditions on the lunar surface must meet certain standards. These conditions are present between December 21st and 27th. If Apollo 8 is not launched between these dates, it would be almost a month before the same conditions exist. In order to master the navigational techniques that have to be proven before others can safely follow, over 200 hours have been spent in simulators, observatories, and planetariums. These navigational techniques were proven to a considerable degree during the pioneering flight of Apollo 7, yet the upcoming flight will confront the Apollo 8 crew with even more navigational challenges. Star charts, sextant readings, and triangulation plottings have been the
어두운 우주에 밝은 보름달이 떠오릅니다.
since man began to fly. Perhaps the confidence and readiness of the crew was best summed up by Frank Borman.
When I said it was a conservative mission, I didn't mean that I thought that there weren't risks or dangers involved, and I don't subscribe to the school that says you take more danger driving on a freeway.
달 표면의 분화구들이 선명하게 펼쳐집니다.
You don't have to study the space program too closely to realize that we're flying a Saturn V and we've got elements of danger all along the way. But I can't help thinking when I see that vehicle, the booster and the spacecraft, that we're looking at the best that American technology can produce. And I have confidence that it'll be good enough.
우주선이 엔진을 분사하며 우주로 나아갑니다.
Apollo 8 from Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center, Florida, to begin its climb into space. After approximately 2 revolutions around the Earth to check out the vehicle, the crew will begin their journey to the moon by restarting the 3rd stage engine. This single engine generates enough power to carry the men on a coasting flight to the moon. Approximately 30 minutes after leaving Earth orbit, the 3rd stage will separate from the Apollo command and service modules. The 3rd stage will continue on, swing by the moon, and go into a solar orbit. It will take almost 3 days from the time the men leave Earth orbit until they go into a lunar orbit. The first 2 revolutions around the moon will be made in an elliptical orbit 60 by 170 nautical miles above the lunar surface. The crew will then change to a circular orbit of 60 nautical miles. Jim Lovell and Bill Anders explain their jobs during the revolutions around the moon.
I'll be taking sightings on the proposed landing sites or a pseudo-landing site, which has the proper lighting conditions. I'll also be taking navigation marks on control points on the far side of the moon, that area where we don't have a good idea on the coordinates. At the same time that I'm doing the navigation, Bill, and I think you'll cover this, will be taking photography of certain areas. Bill, you want to continue?
We have several passes scheduled for strip photography of the lunar surface in order to get a better idea of some of the portions of the moon which the orbiter didn't cover too well. This will help us in tying down a lunar grid for our lunar landing missions, and will also assist us somewhat in being able to determine the exact position of the spacecraft, to see if the orbit was perturbed at all by any non-homogeneity in the lunar surface. We'll also be doing photographs of the landing site, or sites that are available depending on what day we go, the ones that Jim is tracking on. And we'll be doing some dark side photography with some high-speed film. And we have a roughly 1,200 exposures available to us, which we'll be using for targets of opportunity of various kinds. We also have 16mm camera on board, which will be used to do tracking of landing sites for training of future films and general lunar surface analysis.
After 8 orbits, the men will spend the next 2 revolutions checking out the vehicle in preparation to return home. Their time in orbit around the moon will be approximately 20 hours. At the end of the 10th orbit, the crew will fire the main engine on the service module, which will give them the thrust needed to break away from the lunar orbit and start their trip home. The time involved in the return to Earth should take
우주
about
캡슐이
2.5
로켓에서 부드럽게
days.
분리됩니다.
Approximately 15 minutes prior to entering Earth's atmosphere, which is about 400,000 feet altitude, the spacecraft will separate from the service module and position itself for the proper re-entry. Re-entry will come about 6 days and 3 hours after liftoff. The spacecraft is scheduled to land in the Pacific Ocean approximately 1,350 nautical miles south-southwest of Honolulu. Here, the mission will end. A mission designed to reap a vast harvest of knowledge on such things as deep space navigation, tracking and targeting accuracy, communications at lunar distances, lunar photography, and most important, the experience gained in going to and from the moon, a trip that will contribute greatly to the lunar landing mission scheduled for next year. Man, machine, moon. The 3 major characters in the upcoming performance of Apollo 8.